We continue now at the top of Daf Yud Gimel Amud Aleph and Maseches Avodah Zarah. This is Avodah Zarah, Daf 13a. On the previous Amud, the Mishnah said that on the Yom Edom, on the holiday of the idol worshippers, in terms of going into their stores and buying things from their stores on that day, so the Mishnah made a distinction between stores which are mu'utaros, which are adorned, and stores which are not mu'utaros, which are not adorned. The Mishnah said that if the store is adorned, so then you're not allowed to go in there and purchase, but if the store is not adorned, then you are allowed to go in and purchase. And Rashi on the previous Amud explained that the difference is that the stores that were adorned for the Avodah Zarah for that day of the holiday, so they would give a tax, they would give a little bit of money towards that Avodah Zarah, and that's why it's problematic to buy there. But in the other stores, it's okay, it's permissible to buy. And on the previous Amud, Reish Lakish said that when we talk about a store that's adorned, we're actually specifically talking where it's adorned with things that smell nice, and they would put those things around the stores, and those were like offerings to the Avodah Zarah, and there the person is nana. When he goes into the store, he gets pleasure from the smell, and that's why it's prohibited. But if it was a store which was just adorned with fruits or something like that, there would be no problem in terms of going in there and buying. As Reish Lakish now continues, Avol Mahane Shari, just because you're giving benefit to the Avodah Zarah, that's not a problem. It's just you're not allowed to be nana, you're not allowed to get that pleasure. Just being Mahane by purchasing over there is not going to be a problem. And the Gemara continues, Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yochanan says, Rabbi Yochanan disagrees with Reish Lakish, he says, Afilu mutaros beperos nami aser, even if it's adorned with fruits, it's also going to be aser, because kal v'chomer, because of the following kal v'chomer. Nene aser, if it's forbidden for the person to derive benefit, to get that pleasure, so Mahane lo kol shekain, so to give benefit certainly should be problematic. And Rashi explains, again within Rabbi Yochanan, Mahane lo kol shekain, to give them benefit, that is certainly going to be a problem. V'ha in this case, if he's going in and buying at the store, he's going to be giving benefit to the Ovdei Avodah Zarah. Shachen vonin shebesochan sochrei mos shel komrim hein. Rashi says because the storekeepers, they were the money merchants for the priests. And the Gersa over here is changed to Imkain, if so, hu yoev le lebal hachanus amos, he's going to give the owner of the store the money, mischoraso, from the business that he's doing, sha'os hasham, from the business he's doing over there, umati lehu hano, and the hano, the benefit is going to get to the Ovdei Avodah Zarah. Avol she'enon mu'taros, but when we're talking about the stores which are not adorned, lav de komrim hein, so they are not sochrei mos of komrim over there, and so therefore, again, that's why it's specifically problematic in the adorned stores. But the point over here is that Rabbi Yochanan says it doesn't have to be specifically adorned with things that smell nice, and therefore you're going in there and you're getting that benefit of the nice smell. Even if it's mutaros bepeiros, it is also going to be prohibited. And the Gemara continues, Meisvei, we have a question from the following Brisa. Rabbi Nosson says, Yom sha'avodas kochavim aneches boas hameches, on a day that of the Avodah Zarah where they say that you don't have to pay the tax, they would do as follows. Machrizin v'omrim, they would make the following announcement. Kol mi shenotel atara v'yaniach barosho, anyone who takes like a crown, a wreath, and puts it on his head, uvarosh chamoro, and he puts it on the head of his donkey, l'chavad avodas kochavim, for the honor of the idol, so yaniach lo es hameches, he doesn't have to pay the tax. That's what they used to say on that day. V'imlav, and if not, al yaniach lo es hameches, then we're not going to let him off the tax. He's going to have to pay the tax if he does not wear this atara. And so therefore the Brisa continues, Yehudi shenimtza sham, what if a Jew is there? What is he supposed to do? Ma'yaseh, what should he do on such a day? Yaniach, so if he's going to wear that, so then nimtza nene, so it's going to come out that he's going to get that benefit. And lo yaniach, let's say he doesn't wear it, so then nimtza mahane, that he's giving them benefit because he's paying the tax to the Avodah Zarah. And so mikan amru, so from here they say, hanosei v'nosein b'shuk shel avodas kochavim, if a person is doing business in this marketplace of the Avodah Zarah, behema teyaker, the animal has to be uprooted, peiros ksus v'kelim yirkavu, if he purchases produce, or let's say garments or vessels, they have to be left to rot, and mos uklimatchos, money and metal vessels, yolichem liyam hamelach, they have to be thrown into the Dead Sea. Ve'ezo ikr, now what is considered the uprooting of the animal? Haminasher parsosem minhar kuvalamata, he removes the hooves from the knee and below. And so the Gemara says, Katani mias, nevertheless, what does it say in this brisa? Yaniach nimtza nene, lo yaniach nimtza mahan. It says that if he's going to wear the wreath on his head, so then he's going to be benefiting from the Avodah Zarah. And if he doesn't wear it, so then he's going to be giving benefit. Clearly, giving benefit is in fact problematic. You're going to be paying this tax. That is a problem. And so therefore, that's a question against Reish Lakish, because Reish Lakish says that no, mahan is not a problem. It's only a problem if you're going into a store with items that smell good, and they are takrovas Avodah Zarah. And the Gemara continues and answers, Amar of Mesharshia Bereid Ravidi, of Mesharshia, the son of Ravidi, says, Kasav Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Reish Lakish holds, Pligi Rabbanan led Rabbi Nassan, that the Rabbanan argue in Rabbi Nassan. Rabbi Nassan says that Mahan is Aser, but the Rabbanan say that Mahan is Mutter. V'anoah da'amri k'Rabbanan de Pligi Ola, and I follow the Rabbanan, that they argue again in Rabbi Nassan, and they say that Mahan is Mutter. That's why I, Reish Lakish, say that Mahan is Mutter. For Rabbi Yochanan Savran, and Rabbi Yochanan holds low Pligi, that they do not argue, meaning the Rabbanan do not argue against Rabbi Nassan, and that's why Rabbi Yochanan says that Mahan is going to be Aser. But the Gemara continues, V'lo Pligi, but is it really true? Do they not argue? V'atanya, but we learned in a Brisa, Holchin liyirid shel Ovdei Kochavim, a person can go to the marketplace of Ovdei Kochavim, V'lochin mehem behema avadim u'shvachos batim u'sados u'kramim, and he can buy animals and slaves and maidservants and houses and fields and vineyards, V'chosev u'male berchos shalhan, and he can even write up, he goes to the courts, the non-Jewish courts, and writes it up with the proper documentation, because that's a way of saving it from them. He has the proper evidence, and they won't be able to take it away from him. And let's say the person is a Kohen, he's allowed to become Tameh and go into Chutzlaretz, even though Chutzlaretz is considered to be Tameh on a D'Rabbanan level, but he can do that if he has to go to judgment, he has to contest something against them. And just like he's allowed to go to Chutzlaretz to become Tameh, so too, he can also be Metame in a Beis HaKvaros, in a cemetery, for that reason. The Gemara says, Beis HaKvaros al-Kadaitach, can it really be that he can go into a Beis HaKvaros, Tumah Doraisi? That's actually Tumah on a Doraisa level. We understand a D'Rabbanan level, but not a Doraisa level. Ela Beis HaPras, rather we're talking about the Tumah of a Beis HaPras. That's an area where it's unclear whether there is a dead body, whether there's Tumah. That's D'Rabbanan, and Beis HaPras is only Tameh on a D'Rabbanan level, and so that he's allowed to do. Umetame Lil Motorah Velisa Isha, he's allowed to become Tameh, again in this sense, on the D'Rabbanan level, in order to learn Torah, in order to get married. Amar Rav Yehuda says, Amosai, when is this true? Bisman shein motzi lilmud, that's if he can't find any other way to learn. Aval bisman shemotzi lilmud, but if he can find other ways to learn it within, let's say, Eretz Yisrael, eino metame, then he cannot become Tameh. And the Brisa continues, Rabbi Yossi says, Afilu bizman shemotzi lilmod, even if he could find a way to learn in Eretz Yisrael, Yitami, he still can become Tameh. Lefi she'ein adam zoche lilmod mikol, because a person does not necessarily merit to learn from anyone. It could be that opportunity outside of Eretz Yisrael is a better learning opportunity. Amar Rabbi Yossi, and Rabbi Yossi says, Maisa bi Yosef HaKohen, there was an incident with Yosef HaKohen, Sheholach achar Rabbo Litzidon, he went after his Rebbe, his master to Tzidon, meaning outside of Eretz Yisrael, lilmod Torah, in order to learn Torah. V'yamar Rabbi Yochanan, and Rabbi Yochanan says, Halacha ki Rabbi Yossi. The halacha is like Rabbi Yossi. And in any case, the Gemara continues and says, Alma, we see from this brisa. So what does it say in this brisa? So the person is going to the marketplace of the Ovdei Kochavim, and he's purchasing animals and slaves, etc. And so therefore he is giving benefit to the Avodah Zarah. And so Alma, so we see Pligi, we see the Rabbanan do argue on Rabbi Nassan. They say that Mahan is mutter. And the Gemara says, Amar lach Rabbi Yochanan will say to you, Liolam lo Pligi. Really, the Rabbanan do not argue. Everybody agrees that Mahana is Aser. And what's going on in this brisa? V'lo kash, it's not difficult. Kan belokech min hatagar. In one case, we're talking where you buy from the merchant the shakli michsa mineh, because he's going to take that tax from him, and that money is going to go to the avodah zarah. But kan belokech mi balabayis. But here in this brisa, where it says it's permitted, you're buying from a balabayis the lo shakli michsa mineh. He's not collecting the tax from him, and therefore, in such a situation, the benefit is not going to the avodah zarah. That's why it's mutter. And the Gemara continues, Amar Mar, the master said, Behema Tayakar, in the Brisa above we said that if he purchases the animal, so then the animal needs to be uprooted. And the Gemara says, Voika Tsar Balei, but isn't that Tsar Balei? Let's say you're removing the hooves, that would be Tsar Balei. The Gemara says, Amar Abaya says, Amar Achmona, the Pasuk says in Sefer Yehoshua, Es Susayim Tayakar, you're going to uproot their horses, and the idea over here is that when necessary, that is going to be permitted. And the Gemara continues, Amar Mar, the master said, Ve'ezuhi Ikr, what is considered to be uprooting the animals? That's Menasher, Parsosem, and Arkuva Lamata. Again, it's removing the hooves from the knee and below. And the Gemara says, Uraminian, we have the following contradiction. It says in a Brisa, Ein Makdishin, Vein Machrimin, Vein Ma'arichin, Bezman Hazeh, you can't make things, you can't consecrate items nowadays when there's no Beis HaMikdash. V'im Hikdash, V'hichrim, V'herech, if he does consecrate these items, so then Behema, if it's an animal Tayakir, it should be uprooted, the same language as was used in our Brisa above. Peiros, Ksus, V'kelim, if it's produce, or if it's garments, or if it's vessels. And Rashi explains, Vein Machrimin, you can't make things Chayrim, Kasavar Stam Charamel Lebedek Habayis. This Brisa holds, when you make something Chayrim, goes for the repair of the Beis HaMikdash. The Plugsi Be'erchen, this is a machlokas in Erchen exactly in terms of Chayrim. The Kevan Dahashta like a Beis HaMikdash. The point is, since nowadays there is no Beis HaMikdash, Asi Behuli De Takala, so you're making these things hektish, it's going to come to be a stumbling block. The Mishani Mehektish U'Me'ila, it's going to end up being, you're going to benefit from hektish, it's going to be the Avera of Me'ila, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Yud Gimel Amid Beis.